Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. And we're going to talk a little bit about the subconscious mind. We're going to talk about 777, and we're going to touch on Gnosticism a bit. The stuff that I talk about is subject matter based upon study. Okay, I don't make any of this stuff up. If I made this shit up, I'd make it a lot easier. Alright? The things that I talk about in my videos are a result of years of studious research. Alright? Not just YouTube videos, but also reading the books. Right? The books that were mentioned in the videos, and also books that I felt compelled to research. So what I'm trying to say here is, none of this is about me trying to put on some type of front. Okay? Everything that I convey here in these messages is a subject matter that I feel is very important for every human being in this lifetime to learn. Okay? So the reason I'm coming at you like this in this video is because I think that on my last video, where I talked about not coming back, right, after you leave this physical plane, I may have left a lot of loose ends, right, a lot of unresolved subjects. So I hope to clear that up here today. When I talk about the three worlds, the physical, the astral, and the mental, this is coming directly from the Hermetic principles, okay? If you read the Kabbalah, it specifically states that there are three worlds, and in between each world is a gradual transition, right? And everything begins at the level of thought, and it filters downward until we have a physical manifestation. All right, and this is directly reflected in the Kabbalah. And if you notice on the Tree of Life, what you have here at the very top is what is known as Kether. All right, and this is the source of all creation. Okay, and beyond this is the triple blackness. 3 levels of we don't even know, we can't even fathom what you would call God, what you would call the Creator. Okay, the Tree of Life here, which is what the Kabbalah is a map. Okay, it is a perfect map of the human body. You can see right there in the center of the head where Thoth is. Thoth represents knowledge, and it also represents the abyss, because it's very easy to get lost in the abyss. All right, and each of the different spheres correlate to different parts of the body. This also is a map of the universe and how creation manifests. It's also a map of the mind and the soul. It's a map of everything, right? Because reality is a fractal. This is the perfect shape, and it replicates on all levels of existence. So when we talk about these three worlds, the very top is the mental plane. The center is the astral plane. The bottom is the material world. That's why they have the earth flat down here. They have the sky, they have that barrier right there where Thoth is, the abyss, and then we have Kether, right? So when I mention 777, what that actually is the path of which creation, the lightning flash of inspiration, right? Where creation manifests on the physical plane. So it begins up here in Kether, and it shoots down in a zigzag lightning bolt pattern. Bam to bam, 7. Bam to bam, 7. Bam, bam, 7. All right? Well, let's see. 7, 7, 7. That's it. And then it goes down here. And what that is the pathway of the purest intent from the Creator down to the most base and dense physical matter. And as it hits each one of these spheres, it begins to pick up attributes from each one of these spheres. All right? This is the only way that it can exist in the physical realm. The path of 777 is the path of creation. It begins as pure light. And the first sphere that it hits, it begins to filter into an idea. Then it bounces to the other side, and it begins to filter more as far as adding restrictions to it. Now, as it bounces from left to right, from both sides of the tree, it's going between levels of expansion and contraction, right? Expansion and contraction, because there's only two elements, fire and water. Fire represents expansion, water represents contraction. Air is the intermediary, and earth is the combination of all three. But in essence, you've got both sides of this tree of life. The masculine, the feminine, the magnetic, the electric. This is the law of polarity. As it bounces down this tree, it refines itself more and more until it becomes something that can exist in the dense physical form. And all this stuff is conceptual. It doesn't make exactly too much sense, but the more that you get into this and do your own study and your own research, you'll begin to see what I'm talking about. These are how ideas are formed, how businesses are formed, how people are formed, how everything is formed in this reality. It bounces down that tree with the path of 777. Now, our job as occultists is to go back up the tree and reach the crown of Kether and become God, right? Now, I said in my last video, salvation pretty much has to be earned, right? I believe that may have offended some people, and I can understand why. We're taught all our lives that salvation is free, right? We just get it by believing Jesus was real. You know, deep down inside of you as a kid, that didn't exactly feel like that was the end of the story, because that's not how things work, right? Now, that's, again, not something that I made up. That's something that comes from Gnosticism, right? If you'd like to learn about Gnosticism, get the book called The Gnostics by Jacques Lacarrière. There will be a link in the bio. And I'll leave a link to another good book about Gnosticism. But essentially, we're put on this earth, we come down that tree of life, and we are a spirit that is implanted into a physical body. Now, if we don't learn about that spirit, we are only subject to the five senses of the conscious mind. We're subject to the sins, to the lusts of the flesh. Feed me, please me, distract me, right? And that's all we do. And that's all a lot of people do. Just, you know, go outside. You'll find plenty of examples of this. The path of the spirit is a path that takes work, all right? This is unpopular. This is not, you know, a feel-good, happy gathering. If you want the power, if you want to become God like you say you are, right? If you really want to make change and utilize magic and all this stuff, you have to work for it. You have to put in the time to study, right? This is the information age. Aquarius, pouring out the water of knowledge. Everything is there for you on the internet. I'm not, you know what I'm saying, I'm not the expert, right? I'm not the guru, right? I'm not the master teacher. I'm just somebody that read a couple of books, and I understand it. I understand it enough to tell somebody who doesn't know anything about it and to get them on the path to get started to learn. All right? All it takes is knowing which direction to go. And it is out there. Study the Kabbalah, right? Study the Hermetic laws. If you want to know more about Hermeticism, like I have said in many videos, read the Kabbalah, right? If you want to know deeply about Hermeticism, read a book by Franz Barden called Initiation into Hermetics. And the person that actually left the suggestion for me to read that book in the comments, thank you so very much, because that has really helped me. So, the connection with your higher self. The mind is all, the universe is mental. When we talk about the 7 laws of the 7 Hermetic principles, the very first law is the law of mentalism. The mind is all, the universe is mental. Everything starts in the mental plane. We all and everything exists.
It's 2 o'clock.
Thanks, Mac. Everything exists in the mental plane. That's where it begins. All right? And as time goes on, like I said, an idea that is deeply concentrated upon begins to gather an astral body, right? And that astral body becomes dense enough to become an entire soul, right? So we can have spirits and souls that don't actually have a body, because they're actually ideas that have become condensed and compressed to where you can access that energy. An idea is energy. It's a waveform. So when that waveform magnetizes enough substance, it is a spirit that you can access. And every person has a spirit. When they die, they go back to the spiritual realm, and you can access their energies. This is what we do with the ancestors, okay? When you talk about contacting your ancestors, you're accessing the energy of the idea of that person. When you talk about evoking goetic spirits, you're accessing the idea of the energies of each one of these 72 points of the pineal gland in the subconscious mind. All the gods, all the devils, all that stuff. They're ideas that have gathered so much energy that you can pull that energy into your life and direct it towards whatever path you choose to direct it towards. Because that's what we are on this plane, in the physical plane. We are vessels that harness energy and direct it to where it goes. We're all employees of God, whether we know it or not. The energy comes into us and we direct it. This is what a personality is, right? This is what your thought process is. You take the energy that you wake up with every day and you utilize it and put it towards something. What I talk about in my videos is to take that off of autopilot and start utilizing this energy and directing it towards what you actually want in this life, right? Getting into the passenger seat. Even the Christians say Jesus is my co-pilot. You're supposed to be driving the car. Damn, where was I going with that? Yeah, the mind is all, the universe is mental. All right. The second law of Hermetics is the law of correspondence. All right. Basically, as above, so below. Just like I showed in this diagram of the tree of life. As above, so below. This is a pattern. As above, so below means respect the pattern. Right? Just like you see, I guess the simple way to put it is, as in the mind, so in the physical, right? As above, so below. What you create in the mental plane is also reflected in the astral plane, is also reflected in the physical plane, right? So if you understand that, you know that if you want something in the physical plane, you first create the thought, the intention, right? You gather the astral energy with your imagination, you focus on it, you make it concrete. You don't say, one day I'll be rich. You go ahead and put it in the present, because the subconscious mind doesn't work on time. It doesn't deal with time. It is, right? This is why you practice mindfulness in Buddhism, because everything is now. Be here now. When you have your wish or whatever you want to do, you tell it to yourself as it's happening now. I am wealthy. I am healthy, right? Knowledge, wisdom, power is within me, and I have direct access to it. Tell yourself these things all day, every day, and watch what happens after a couple days, after a week. Right? As above, so below. Correlation. That's why when you want to do a ritual for Mikael, you deal with the color red and fire. Correlation, because you're accessing that energy by correlating with it. Come on. Law number 3, the law of vibration. Everything moves. Nothing is at rest. Everything vibrates. Up, down, up, down, up, down, left, right, frequency, right? Your scientists, your mundane scientists will tell you at the very core and center of everything in our physical existence, there's emptiness, there's vibration, right? When you go down to the atoms and the quarks, right? In the center of that is empty space. There is vibration, there is energy. Understanding this, you're not dealing with hard concrete things. You're dealing with ideas that have taken shape. Now, simply knowing these things, really knowing them deep down in your heart, changes your outlook on life, right? That's why people are trying to push agendas as far as globe Earth versus flat Earth, heliocentric versus geocentric, because depending on what you believe affects everything you believe after that, right? If you believe that we live in a geocentric model, that the Earth is the center of the universe, like the ancients believed, then you're going to start to naturally accept your importance as a citizen of this reality. But if you believe in a Big Bang and that everything was random, how easy is it to become an atheist and to think that there is no God? This all happened on accident. What a coincidence, right? Look at those two life paths. Because depending on which path you're on, there's certain things you can and cannot believe, right? Now, as a third option, you can believe neither and continue study, right? Which is what I do. But see, this is what you get again on this tree of life. You have 3 paths here, right? You've got one path on the left, which is mercy, path on the right, which is severity, and you have the center path. Look at which way is the quickest way to God, the quickest way to source, right? A straight line, middle path, not believing left or right, but taking everything into consideration. Like I said, as above, so below, the law of correspondence. Everything is a pattern. When you understand the pattern, you understand life. You don't have to be a genius, right? You don't have to be super gifted and talented. You just have to recognize patterns, right? Patterns. Vibration. The next law is the law of polarity, right? Polarity deals with duality, deals with opposites, right? Again, like the 2 sides of the tree of life, mercy and severity, expansion and contraction, right? Polarity. 2 opposite things. Everything in this physical dimension exists as polarity. But what you start to learn is we're all one. Everything is the same thing. Even though you have polarity, what you got to understand is these are 2 different ends of the same pole. So somewhere in the middle they meet. And if you can understand the middle of a thing, you can understand that pattern. You can understand that flow. You can understand that law of vibration of how we bounce back and forth.